Now, something's just happened that the market hasn't priced in just yet, and it is a lot bigger than crypto or Bitcoin combined, realistically. Now, this is the thing. The Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, has just said something pretty alarming and feels he is under direct political and legal pressure. And this isn't so much noise if you care about the monetary policy, because it matters in terms of the long-term effect of inflation, interest rates, and everything. Let's be honest. So we're going to talk about what does it mean for Bitcoin, why has gold massively reacted over the last couple of hours, and why we might actually be seeing some random altcoins breaking out because of what they are, narrative-wise. So yeah, let's get into this one. This could be fun. So on the screen, as you can see, this dropped during my sleeping time. There's quite a lot of views on it, obviously, and it's quite a big deal, and I don't think people fully realise this just yet, because when we're talking about grand jury subpoenas to the Federal Reserve, what? Crazy. But political pressure becomes a problem when it is potentially, keyword potentially, over interest rates, which could be the core of this. The reality is here, right? I feel that Donald Trump is putting pressure on, and I think others as well, to get those interest rates low. Right? But it doesn't really solve a problem now, does it? It's a problem for later down the line, which could become worse. I personally think that Jerome Powell has done a really good job, in my opinion, right? I think he's put out a lot of fires that could have went totally wrong, certainly since Donald Trump's come in power, and obviously throughout, the previous administration. The problem I have is when you look at some of the comments on X, genuinely, I think it is just X in the crypto world that want no interest rates. I don't think they fully understand nor grasp the matter of what could happen longer term. Because this matters because there's a couple of reasons. One, markets are built around predictability. This is unpredictable. This is a problem. This could create problems longer term. But you've also got to look at the bonds, for example, dollar confidence as another situation. You've got risk asset sort of situation, risk on, risk off. But you've also got equity evaluations and other bits and pieces, and not to mention all these liquidity charts that are getting spun about. The problem we have is monetary policy is, a way or a vehicle to achieve an end goal. Once it starts becoming political, markets will stop trusting that situation and they'll be like, oh, what's going to happen next? This is why we're seeing, right, and we'll go into the next part of this, people talk about stuff like this. The program print, we're going to make loads of money, we're going to make it, bro, sort of vibes, right? That is a big problem in my viewpoint because most people that join this market know from COVID, this big, massive shoot, oh, it made our money go up, yay. I feel like now people want that to happen again. Liquidity is not realistically collapsing here, it's just a different monetary policy. But once it starts becoming, let's just be honest here, unstable, we're going to get a situation of uncertainty, and then capital will rotate, maybe the wrong way. But then you can talk about other situations such as inflation, gold, silver, why are certain things doing unbelievably well? So let's talk about that, because gold is flying. Gold doesn't move on hype, by the way, you should know this. It moves on a situation of uncertainty. Gold rises because of currency risk, policy risk, political risk, institutional situations. You could talk about the wars and the fear and the, oh God, there's all kinds going on here. Gold is a bit of an issue, right? And even on here, on this situation around all this kind of noise and geopolitical bollocks, basically, we have situations where, Trump has threatened strikes amid wide protests in Iran. And there's all kinds of, obviously, Jerome Powell's been mentioned in this summary. This summary changes every single day, by the way. But the reality is very simple. People are starting to look at the market and go, well, this could get very, very tasty soon. But boys and girls, what does it mean for Bitcoin? Well, nothing's happened really. It's been a bit lullish. And obviously, yes, the US market hasn't opened yet. That could get very tasty. It's a bit red today so far. Institutional distrust in the fiat system could be one reason why cryptocurrency does well. Okay, longer term monetary debasement. Obviously, that narrative has been huge and it has been huge for years. You can see that behind me when you go to the full screen on my Bitcoin standard shelf in terms of that display. This is not a panic hedge, but a policy hedge, essentially, right? Because the overall situation is very clear. What happens if there's a breakage somewhere? What happens if it goes wrong? Now, that's a question that I think you need to ponder. As much as I just said about Jerome Powell doing a good job, and what if, obviously, yes, he is leaving in the next couple of months, that's fine, but what if it goes really wrong in the next rotation round? Yeah, it might be good for us if you're holding Bitcoin, fair enough, I get it. But do you really want the entire market to fall based off that? Because it isn't a guarantee, is it? If we have a situation where things go wrong and there's liquidity going elsewhere, it will go into gold, it will go into silver and all these other bits and pieces, maybe potentially Bitcoin. But have we passed the trust test yet? I don't know. Still early days, isn't it? And even though I'm a Bitcoin holder, I want Bitcoin to do very, very, very well, but do big monies and big institutions really, really trust it? Let me know in the comments if you think the same as me on that. But realistically, overall now, Bitcoin is still, I think, struggling. It's struggling to get above this area. I want it to fly and get out of that red box. That to me is a danger zone. I've mentioned it before, and I do talk about this a lot more on my Patreon. There's a link below to that. However, thus being said, there's a big problem around the entire crypto market. We know this. Cryptocurrencies, all the altcoins not doing well. Dominance has been doing nothing since September, you could probably argue here. Stable currencies are looking awful, realistically, and it needs to come down. Money needs to go into the market, realistically. Because realistically as well, no. Because what is happening, what we are seeing, as I say, risk, problem. It's an issue, right? So when we talk about gold, it's been massively stronger short term in the last 2 years versus Bitcoin. Realistically, you could argue, or maybe 18 months. Now, this is a thing. This is acting as, you could probably argue, the paramedic, the first responder, the person that's going to sort us out first. And that is gold's situation around the entire world of uncertainty. And you can see how parabolic this has gone and where it probably could be going here. 5,000 probably in a nutshell. Now, yes, you could argue if you bought Bitcoin early, you would have made more money than gold. Yes, that's not the point, though. The point is, this is macro behavior, classic as well. The situation we have is people are making lots of money on gold and they don't understand the overall picture of it. Yes, it's doing well, fantastic, great. But there's a reason for that, and as I've alluded to before, feel free to go back and revisit that section of the video. Let's look at silver, because silver is crazy volatile, but it lags gold, obviously. It's a bit of a speculative play. It's like gold with leverage in a way, and it is a lot more speculative, but it took a bit of time going. But realistically, from the low of this area around tariffs period to now, we're up 100, nearly 200% in 284 days. That's crazy. Also, as well, platinum is similar sort of vibes. You could argue it's crazy. Metals have gone berserk. Does that mean you should buy them? Probably not. Your investment strategy should be a strategy. For me, it's Bitcoin. I would rather have Bitcoin and dividend stocks. You should know that. With other people, they have Bitcoin and metals and maybe some growth stocks. Everyone's different, right? Buying something like this now is a bit crazy, in my opinion, because we're talking about something that hasn't happened in a long, long time. I'm not going to say ever, but a very, very long time of these types of moves, which, as I say, could be very interesting. And we also have XMR. Welcome to the top 20, basically. Now, this has obviously gone berserk. I have put it on here, but realistically, we are at a brand new all-time high. This, again, showcases, in my opinion, privacy problems, sovereignty issues, off-grid value storage, right? Because people are panicking about what could be happening. And this is probably one of the only altcoins at the minute that has done this in the entire last 3 or 4 years, realistically, if you think about it, which is pretty crazy. I know some have broken USD all-time highs, but this has really gone mental. But why does all of this matter? My viewpoint is simple. Retail and normal people, and maybe probably quite obviously institutions, will want a bit more certainty in the market. Markets move on shift. They do. The sentiment, behavior, narratives, volume, liquidity, whatever it is. But when the likes of the Fed are going against the government, that's a problem. And this is probably why we're seeing gold fly, silver fly, etc. Now, yes, you could argue political interference may create a bit of a spark, but it could lead to a problem later down the line. It could lead to higher inflation. It could lead to a different policy that doesn't need to be required. It could lead to a lot more liquidity than required due to, say, money printing, which, as I say, as you can imagine, higher inflation. Do we need to do that? Probably not. And I think what we're getting is a bit of a suffocation a lot of things, as it's saying, crypto are in Bitcoin versus say altcoins. A lot of things are in gold versus other things in terms of materials. It's interesting. But what is a little bit mad, even though Bitcoin hasn't moved much, the fear and greed is slowly going back up to neutral. And that is interesting. And whether that changes or not is another thing. But realistically, I still worry about the Bitcoin price. I still worry, are we going to go higher anytime soon? And right now, there's been no sign of life. That could change in a sixpence. You know, obviously you can see that. It can change with Jerome Powell opening his mouth or Donald Trump opening his mouth. But hasn't moved yet, has it? Even though this announcement has happened. But maybe today, when the market opens, things move. But yeah, if you're not yet done so, jump in Patreon below. If you want more content from me, more analysis, more deep dives, and obviously a Discord that might help you navigate this market. And also, watch this video, might help you with some Bitcoin analysis in a bit more depth that I did the other day.